It's Natasha from Dressing Room 8, and I am super psyched to be speaking with the one and only Erin Clark. How are you, darling?
I am so good and so happy to be here with you today, Natasha.
Big. So I met you at the She Leads Media Conference last year, and I was completely mesmerized by your energy, by your business, by your attitude. You're just dope as hell. I love you. And
Thank
so
you.
yeah, so I was like, I have to feature you on Dressing Room 8 because I'm all about empowering women and really showcasing to other women the value of entrepreneurship and being creative and innovative. So first and foremost, like, who are you? What do you do? And how did you become just as magnetic and amazing as you are today?
Oh my God. Well, first of all, mutual admiration society here. I think what you're
Thank
doing is
you.
fantastic. And I had so much fun talking to you at She Leads. And yeah, I've been a loud girl for most of my life. uh,
Mhm.
I was a kid who was never afraid of expressing herself. I don't know how many women who listen to this podcast get branded as bossy or got called
Mhm.
bossy when they were little girls. I was definitely that
Mhm.
kid,
Okay.
and I was a performer from the time I was little bitty. I was performing in church. I was performing in musicals. So my voice was very much something that came to define who I am and what I could offer to the world. And I also consider myself like a super perfectionist. Uh,
Mhm.
and I think that for perfectionists, praise about something can be as paralyzing in its own way as criticism can be. Because
Mhm.
once you figure out that, like, oh, this is the thing that people like about me. So I'm going to make it all about this. And I'm going to be a perfectionist about this thing. And I'm going to, use it in this way that doesn't necessarily always feel authentic, that feels like, okay, this is my thing and this is what I do. And the older I got, uh, as I was pursuing my professional acting career, the more I had to start to really examine that and, like, what does it mean to authentically show up in the world? What does it mean to not just vocally put myself out there, but also
Mhm.
really learn to listen? What does it mean to be an extrovert in a way that is like using my extrovert powers for good and not for evil? um,
Mhm.
and part of that journey was founding this company that I love so much, and helping other people to use their voices in a confident, powerful way, while sort of also reacting to the landscape of public speaking coaching and voice
Mhm.
coaching, which is what I do, is very much based on a model of, here's how to put on your serious voice so people will take you seriously.
Mhm.
And that's not how we talk anymore. That's
Mhm.
not how we interact with people. But it's still the model that is getting taught in a lot of quarters, how to do it right. And
Mhm.
again, perfectionist here, so I understand the motivation to want to get it right. But
Mhm.
what I had to learn and what I teach my clients is that there's so much more than just getting it right.
Mm. Awesome. Okay, so why do you think as a culture that we are still holding on to this have to do it right, has to be this one way? Like, why are we forcing one-dimensional approaches to things when human beings are multi-dimensional
Oh,
every single day?
yeah. I mean, I think it goes to, and especially for women, I think it goes to a thing where we want to get the opportunities. We want to get ahead. We want to show up in the world in a big way. And when we're
Mhm.
constantly fed these messages of, you're too abrasive or you're too emotional, you're too
Mhm.
cold or you're too warm, you're too aggressive or you're not aggressive enough, when it feels like there are these impossible double standards, and you
Mhm.
can never I think it does trigger this in highly motivated, ambitious people who want to do good big things in the world. They're like, okay, if I can just hack this system, if I can figure
Mhm.
out the right answer, then the opportunities will come to me, or you know the things that I want to do will come to me. And I'm a firm believer that if the game is impossible to win, then the
Mhm.
game does not exist.
Mm. Mm.
And
Very powerful.
so it's like, let's figure out, yes, there is a system that we have to acknowledge. There is an ecosystem. There are real cultural things in the world that prevent, let's be honest, anyone beyond fairly well educated middle class to upper class white men from
Hmm.
getting ahead. That is a real thing. We can't just reject it. It would be dishonest. But we can
Hmm.
also learn to either work within that system and disrupt from the inside, or we
Hmm.
can learn to work outside that system and disrupt from the outside. It's the choice, it's the agency that makes the difference.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. So with Vital Voice Training, your company, you on your website, vitalvoicetraining.com, share with the public that you're a voice and speech coaching company out to change the conversation about what women are supposed to sound like and help clients speak, sell, pitch, and present their ideas with authentic confidence and a deep connection to their core values. So how did this company be, right? How did you know that this is what you were going to do and that you were going to be able to help women also be able to essentially speak and present and share their narrative in the way that they should be
Oh,
and want to?
it's it's one of the most exciting journeys of my life. This journey into sort of accidental entrepreneurship, because again, I
Hmm.
was a professional actor. I still refer to myself as a semi-recovering professional actor. Like I fall
Okay.
back into it sometimes, but
Hmm.
I met my partner Julie Fogg about 4 years ago now, I think. And she and I were both professional actors. I came from the musical theater world. She came from the what we tend to call it in a weird way straight theater, which just means non-musical theater.
Okay.
And we had both been teaching voice. I had been teaching voice for a particular speech coaching company that I was just not really satisfied with the way that they did things. It felt like a model, again, that old fashioned model of we're going to teach you how to get it right. And I was so uninterested in that. And I
Hmm.
really felt like my clients were uninterested in that. And I just happened at the same time to be going to this great, we refer to it as meeting in an affirmation aerobics class.
Hmm.
this this class is like, you're doing kickboxing moves and shouting, I can feel my power. And so we were in a great
Hmm.
place of empowerment and motivation when we met each other and started talking and realized that we shared a lot of the same frustrations about the current world of speech coaching, but also
Hmm.
the motivation to really want to do something with that, with the skills that we had been trained in as actors, to bring those to non actors to say, I know you think acting is about putting on a mask from the outside. And we're here to
Hmm.
explain to you that the best actors are revealing who they really are in a way that's powerful. And yes, there's training that goes into that. Yes, there's technique that goes into that. But what it comes down to is the next level of confident communication is knowing all those things so that you can let them go and be present in the moment. And that's how we
Hmm.
want to teach. And the day that we bought our domain name, vitalvoicetraining.com, we
Hmm.
were drinking rosé in my living room, and we're like, okay, so we're going to do this company. We're going to be entrepreneurs. We have
Hmm.
no idea what we're doing. Thank God for the Google machine. But
Yes.
let's send out a pitch. So we had both been reading this website called getbullish.com, which is like hype, like super feminist, aggressive lady business advice. And we loved the tone of voice of it. And we found out that she was doing a conference and that she was
Hmm.
calling for speakers. So the day we bought our domain name, we sent out our first pitch email with a work the title and the description of a workshop that we hadn't actually written yet, but it was
Hmm.
called "What Does Authority Sound Like?" And we got
Mm.
really excited about that idea of like, let's talk about the cultural ideas that we have about what does an authoritative person look like? What does a leader look like? How do they
Mhm.
communicate? And let's tease that apart and let's see how well we fit into the current paradigm. And then
Amazing.
let's talk about creating a new paradigm
Mhm.
and how we can disrupt, to use a horrible business buzzword, how we can disrupt what leadership looks like and what leadership sounds
Mhm.
like. And 2 days later we had booked the conference, which was crazy, but we were kind of off to the races. And it was, we I think we realized very quickly that there's a hunger for this and that there's a need for this. And
Mhm.
the great thing about it is that not only do we feel like we're fulfilling a need and fulfilling a hunger, we get to do something that gives us so much joy and makes us so happy. So feels like cheating
Absolutely.
capitalism. I love that.
Well, what I love about that whole, your journey so far is that you were fearless, right? And I think that that is the biggest thing that women, of all people, but really women, we need to hone in on the fact that we cannot be afraid to put our names out there. We cannot be afraid to step into something, even if you haven't finished it, right? And I love
Yeah.
that you said that, you had the intention and you had the clarity and you knew you could do it. You just needed to kind of get it out there, right? And once you get the yes, you'll figure out how to
Oh, and Lord, there was
right.
some scrambling and figuring it out along the way for sure.
Yeah. But imagine if you didn't, right? Like where would your
Yeah.
company have been?
Well, and the thing about fear, and this is something we talk to our clients all the time, because one of the first questions that we usually get asked by people who find out what we do and find out what our backgrounds are in professional acting, they're like, "How do actors not get nervous on stage?" And the answer is they do get nervous.
Mm-hmm.
We just know how nerves and fear feel in our bodies, and we know how to hold those things in our body without letting them hijack us. So
Mm-hmm.
I would say, was I scared about this? Especially, throughout, did I have fear? Absolutely, I had fear. I just
Mm-hmm.
know that fear doesn't have to paralyze me. It's
Mm-hmm.
just energy. It's the oldest, least logical part of our brain telling us
Mm-hmm.
that we're in danger. You're in danger, girl. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we just have to talk to that part of our brain and say, I know you're trying to protect me right now. Thank you for giving me the energy that I need to accomplish this difficult task, but we're
Mm-hmm.
okay. So let's walk into
Exactly.
this together, logic brain and amygdala. Let's walk into this together and let's make it
Mm-hmm.
happen. And if the
Exactly.
worst that you can hear is no, then that's not a bad word to hear. And that's the other thing that actors learn. Actors hear no all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's good to have a lot of practice, I think, in getting rejected because that's
Mm-hmm.
the reality of a professional actor's life. No matter how talented you are, you're going to get rejected all the time. It's
Mm-hmm.
not the end of the world.
Yeah, and that's great training for entrepreneurship, right? Because as you know, not every pitch gets a yes, not
Uh-huh.
every email gets a response, and that we have to fall forward. And sometimes when we think we're doing something and it doesn't work out, again, it's not the end of the world, but you have to keep moving forward and you have to, yeah, hold back the fear and the what ifs because again, you never know until you try. So I guess what I would then want to know is what are I guess like common pitfalls or like mistakes that people are doing like that amongst your clients or people generally that they are failing to do when it comes to having authority with their voice and being present when they need to show up for things in their life.
Mm. So I'm going to give you three main things.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I want every woman on this planet to know that every single one of my incredible clients who from the outside look like they have their shit together. Sorry, I just cursed. You
Mm-hmm.
can bleep it out. Uh, they look like they have everything together. They are glamorous and intelligent, and they have these high powered careers, and they're like kicking butt and taking names. And all of them deal at different point in their lives with imposter syndrome and with feeling like
Mm-hmm.
they're not enough or feeling like they're who am I to be in this room. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
the more that we call that out and we say you don't need to be ashamed of your fear or your second thoughts or your doubts or all of these things because everybody's got it. And especially I think the people who again, high achievers, ambitious, want to do
Mm-hmm.
good things in the world. We are very tough on ourselves. Brilliant people can get in their own way. It's my
Mm-hmm.
job as your coach to be like, girl, you got this. I believe in you, and
Mm-hmm.
here's why I believe in you. So that's first of all, let's
Mm-hmm.
remove the shame around I'm not as confident as I wish I could be because confidence
Mm-hmm.
takes practice. And
Mm-hmm.
confidence is not something that you're born with. I think some people are born with it, but like confidence is a muscle that you can work out. So that's number
Mm-hmm.
one.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, and this is something that my partner Julie says, we live in a bit of a post breath culture.
Mhm.
People like don't breathe when they talk. And like there's like this like very conscious, it's like a cool factor thing. Like I don't care. Like I'm not super invested in this right now. And the thing is, vocal fry gets a really bad name. That's what I was just demonstrating is classic sort of vocal fry. Some people call it sexy baby voice. And women get
Mhm.
a lot of shaming around that. And we are not about shaming people.
Mhm.
Those cultural affectations like the Kardashian voice come from a genuine place. It's coming from how we fit in, how we create community. We signal I fit into the
Mhm.
social group sometimes by the sounds of our voice. So you developed that for a reason. It might serve you in certain communities. But on a
Mhm.
physical level, vocal fry comes from not enough breath through your voice. Your voice is fueled by your breath. And people think like, if I just talk loud, if I talk louder, people will pay attention to me. Well, the quickest way to talk louder is to send more breath through your voice, right? And
Mm.
and we don't necessarily know how to do that because we're not breathing when we talk right now. We're not even breathing when we go through our daily lives. Well, the first thing that we teach every single client is like, guess what? We're going to reteach you how to take a deep breath because
Mm.
99.9% of the people who come to us actually don't know how to take a deep breath. Uh,
Mm.
so it's a huge thing to actually be in your body and breathe and use that breath to speak. Um,
Mhm.
and it's a huge way that we connect with the person that we're talking to. So
Mhm.
that brings me to number 3, connection. Uh, there's a great voice and acting coach named Patsy Rodenberg. She's really cool. She's British and very kind of grande dame and intimidating. But she has this theory of circles of communication, right? So first circle communication is sort of the default circle of the uncomfortable introvert. That's like the
Mm.
circle where you're not really talking to someone, you're kind of hiding behind a wall. It's like at the party when you just want to just kind of back into the corner and not be seen, or where
Mhm.
you're maybe being a little passive aggressive and not really sharing because like you don't want to share your ideas, because if you share your ideas then people might criticize them. It's a very protected place to come from, first circle.
Mhm.
So on the other end of that is third circle. Third circle is the energy of the party, of the people at the party who are just trying way too hard. They're not talking to you, they're talking at you in
Mhm.
a very generalized way. And that's a circle that can signal aggression, it can signal dominance, it can signal trying too hard. It can signal all these places, but basically both first circle and third circle, neither of them are about the person that you're talking to.
Mm.
Neither of them involve real listening, and neither of them involve a true exchange of energy. So, second circle is that place where the magic happens. That's the place where I can express who I am and what I want. And I can also receive information from the person I'm talking to. I am truly present with that person, and I
Mhm.
can I can adjust my delivery based on the information that I'm receiving from them. I can make them feel seen and heard, which to me is one of the most fundamental desires that we have as human beings. We want to feel seen and heard. If you
Mhm.
want to get somebody on your side, if you want to create rapport with the person that you're talking to, making them feel seen and heard is so much more important than just saying the right words to them.
Mm.
You can
Absolutely.
say words and it doesn't make a darn bit of difference, because
Mhm. Mhm.
what it really comes down to is, are my words being received?
Mm. Beautiful. I love that. That's amazing. So now my next question to you is there a certain type of pitch or way that people talk that you have found with your expertise that does allow the words to be received more? And I ask this because I'm sure you've probably worked with people who sound like me, right? And just my own personal experience when I go around and I speak with people, I find it very funny that when I'm talking, like people will be like, or you're not from New York, you must be from California, right? And I'm born and raised in Manhattan. Like it's like super offensive to my New York soul.
That
I'm
is
like,
so
oh
funny.
no. And
Oh
I
my
think
gosh.
like I definitely watched a lot of 90210 growing up, right? And so I think
Yeah.
I have
Well,
a
that's
little
it.
bit of a extender there. But yeah, like are people attracted to certain sounding voices or ways, diction? And like I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
That's a really interesting and really complex issue because yes, there are studies that say in the same way that there are studies that say that tall people
Mm-hmm.
get promoted more and like you can almost predict the winner of a presidential race by saying, who's the taller candidate, right? It's
Mm.
like people have biases towards tall people because clearly if you're tall, you're a leader. People have, people have similar biases towards deeper voices, right?
Ah, okay.
So here's why I think that is a little bit of a danger zone
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of the women that I work with have what I would call artificially lowered voices.
Ooh,
And
what does
most
that
of them, particularly older women, particularly women who are in their, late 40s, 50s, 60s, because
mean?
they were in the office in a generation when women were still new to leadership positions and
Mm-hmm.
they had to prove themselves in the boys' club and they didn't want to sound like chicks. You know what I mean? So they
Okay.
end up with this kind of artificially lowered voice, like you're going to take me seriously because I'm going to talk like a dude. And what that ends up doing
Yeah.
on a physiological level is that it's actually really hard to speak in the lower 10% of your vocal range all the time because it's
Mm.
exhausting on your actual vocal cords and your vocal apparatus. The other
Okay.
thing is that means that 90% of your voice is not being used, it's not being utilized. And that's like 90% of your personality not being used or utilized.
Mm.
How can we be authentic if we're hiding 90% of the sound of what we can do? So the
Mm.
other piece of that is actually what you were talking about with watching a lot of 90210
Yeah.
and what I was thinking about like with the Kardashian voice, right? Our voices are essentially they're like our aural fingerprints.
Okay.
Everything that makes you who you are as a person also makes your voice sound like your voice. And that
Mm.
includes your physicality, that includes the shape of your vocal cords and the shape of your resonating chambers. It
Mm-hmm.
includes how you process things mentally. Like, do you formulate your thoughts as you speak? Do you want to like have your perfect thing in your mind before you say it? It includes the emotional portion of it, which is what happened. Our voices are so reflexive and responsive to the emotions that we're feeling in our body. Everybody knows what it feels like to like when you're really angry and like your voice gets, you know what I mean, or when you're talking to a little puppy and you're like, oh my gosh, you're so cute, right? We have vocal range inside our body and we intuitively know how to use it when we're connected to our emotions. So physical, mental, emotional. But the biggest
Ah.
piece of why our voices sound like us is
Mm-hmm.
the social piece.
Mm.
It's everything that we had growing up. Were you a kid who was told to be quiet? Did you watch a lot of 90210 and listen to those people talk and start to at it? When you have a new friend group and you start
Yeah.
to absorb the catchphrases of your friends and then bring them into other pieces of your life. Like this is how we develop habits. We
Mm.
develop habits as a social creature.
Mm.
So the answer to the question, is there one particular kind of voice that is taken more seriously,
Mm-hmm.
is really complicated. The answer to that is, well, depends on your environment,
Mm-hmm.
depends on what we would call as actors your given circumstances, the who,
Mm-hmm.
what, when, where, why of your scene.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you're like in the finance world, there is a particular type style of interaction that you're probably going to encounter pretty often, and that is a bit formal, and that is a bit it maybe deeper voiced, maybe more diction, all of this stuff, right? If
Gotcha.
you're in the artistic world, you might find a totally different kind of sort of cultural vocal interaction.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think it's when we try to match ourselves to our environment in a way that is so far away from who we really are that it's
Mm-hmm.
exhausting and frustrating. So how can we use the information, the given circumstances? How can we use the cultural norms of where we are in a
Mhm.
way that feels like we're still honoring who we are as a person. And that's the core values piece of that bio that we have on our website. It's like, speak from who you are and then make smart choices to adapt, knowing that you have this amazing vocal range inside of you
So,
that
me
chances are
too.
you're
So
just
when
not
it
using
comes
very much of
to
for a lot of
like if someone doesn't have the opportunity to be able to work with you or your partner and they want to work on building, building their authentic voice, what are resources that maybe you share with your clients or just exercises that people can do to build that vocal confidence and make sure that they are comfortable with how they're sounding in the world?
Totally. I mean, I think that there's a lot of resources out there. If you go just on YouTube, one of the videos that we send to people all the time, if you Google Jessica Wolf Art of Breathing, she has
Mm,
the most beautiful animation of how the rib cage and the lungs work when they
mhm.
expand. I talked about how most people don't know how to breathe.
Mhm,
She has this beautiful animation that shows the rib cage moving as the rib cage is supposed to in order to get a
mhm,
deep breath. I will give you an exercise right now that everybody can do to start to connect their breath to their voice. And that
mhm,
is to use the letter V, V as in violet. So you're gonna take a nice breath into your back, and then you're gonna
mhm.
actually just hum on a V. So it sounds like this. Vzz. Might be a weird buzz on the on the recording, but
Yeah,
it
just
actually
like
takes an
soft.
incredible amount of breath to
Mm,
hum on a V, and you're going to realize just how much breath is required to really, really phonate and create a sound. So humming on a V is good practice for getting your breath connected to your speaking voice.
perfect.
And
Awesome.
and then I would just say, other than that, like just practice. Just start to practice that act of present, of being
Mhm,
present. That act of like, I am here with the person that I'm talking to. I am putting my focus on them, on myself in a way that feels equal, right? And I am asking questions, I'm being curious about them. I'm also expressing myself in a way that might cause me, especially if I'm introverted, to step out of my comfort zone.
mhm.
It just takes practice. And I think and one more thing, I would say language is an incredible gift.
Mhm.
Words, I geek out about words, man. I love words. I love the act of using words. I love the act of choosing the right word to say the thing that I want to say. And it's not about the right word like the right word and then every other word is wrong. I think
Mhm.
words can be playful. You can have fun expressing yourself. And if I can like help people learn that language is a gift that we've been given in order to connect with other human beings and in order to put our ideas out on the planet, and that
Mhm.
if you just take a deep breath, focus on the audience that you want to hear your words, and then enjoy the act of speaking, you've gone a long way towards finding your authentic voice.
Perfect, perfect. Okay. So now if people do wanna work with you and really, take advantage of the amazing work and expertise that you can share with them, do you have any upcoming workshops, seminars, or, what is the best way like, upcoming projects, and then also what is the best way for people to connect with you?
Well, first of all, we are at the end of this month launching our brand new website, which I'm super excited about. It's going to have some
Ooh.
new ways to work with us. We're going to be upping some video content. If you follow us on Instagram, we're planning a whole slew of videos with tips so
Mm,
that you can really get the feeling of what it's like to be in the room with us. We are also debuting group workshops.
mhm,
So what I want to do is give people a chance to get up in front of an audience and just practice being in front of an audience so that they realize
mhm.
that this is not a life or death situation. This is just being in front of an audience. And those are going to be priced in a way I think that can get people in the room in a way that is useful to them. And we really want to make that accessible. The private coaching, contact us through our website, hello@vitalvoicetraining.com. Talk to
Mhm.
us. We do a free 15-minute consultation with anyone who has questions. We would love to talk to you about your goals and what you're interested in and help you pick the right training program for you. And also, my partner Julie just moved to San Francisco. So we are now officially a bi-coastal company. So
Amazing.
we'll work with anybody on the East or the West Coast. We will work with you via Skype. We will work with you in person. We love all of it. So give us a call. We would love to chat with you for 15 minutes.
Amazing. So I definitely will share all your social handles and just thank you for sharing the fact that we as women that we have voices and that they're important and that we need to remember to take the time to think about, are we sounding the way that we want to sound and are we getting our message across, because we're all really important people and we all,
Yes.
right, have the importance and the value to get be able to know that we have to work on it, right? We all have to kind of get it out there. And you are, like I said, are just amazing. So thank you for becoming an accidental entrepreneur and just like finding your voice in this whole world. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Natasha. It's been really, really fun to talk to you, and thank you for the work that you're doing in the world to empower women. I mean, we're on the same team, girl. It's like,
Yeah,
let's get it done. Let's get these women and their ideas out into the world and make the
yeah,
work a better place, because that's what I believe
exactly.
in.
It is our year, right? We have to shine, so we got to do it.
Hell yeah.
All right, thanks. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Thanks.